Hey friends, I'm Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and before I get started with the video, and I will be doing some readings today, I'll use the You Are Magic Tarot deck by Soleia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. I love this deck. It's a very feminine pink deck. It has I've showcased it before. It's got a nice box, nice booklet. I like pink. Sometimes I'm in the mood for pink. One of the reasons, and here are the edges, which I edged. It's where I purchased it, it showed pink edges, but when I got it, it had white edges. So I just took a pink highlighter and went around it with it twice. So it looks great. The reason I'm reaching for the pink deck is because it's just by instinct. I'm just reaching for it because I had a unusual experience regarding my mother and my brother and my husband and I. You know how sometimes you wonder if something happens and then you take it as a sign because it's so uncanny that you think that was that was a sign from a loved one who passed on to let you know that they're thinking of you or they're concerned for you or whatever. So this morning, after we woke up, we usually have like coffee in bed. My husband usually I'm the one who always makes coffee, but this morning I ribbed him and said, how's about making coffee this morning? But this morning we were having coffee in bed, and he was going through his photographs, and he said, you remember this day with your mother? And he showed me a photograph of my mother smoking a cigar. Because we were just celebrating something, our wedding day, which happened in July. So it wasn't like the anniversary, or anything. But I didn't, but some of the women and I think all of the men lit up a cigar to celebrate our wedding day. My mother wanted a puff. So she and my brother Manny, who I've spoken about here, shared a cigar. So the two of them puffed away on a cigar. And of course, I couldn't resist but take a photograph of it, which my mother was furious about. She was like, don't you dare put that on Facebook, which of course I did. I promptly put it on Facebook. She was so pissed off at me, but it was so cute. It was just so funny. And she was like puffing and blowing smoke rings like she knew how to do it. It's like, where did you learn how to do that? She was like, I don't know. Her father smoked cigars when she was a little girl. So anyway, he showed me the photograph and we were laughing hysterically. And then we talked about how she hated that photograph and how I posted it at her memorial service. That was one of the photographs I included because I included several photographs of her. And I said, my husband said, well, that would have really pissed her off to, that you put the photograph in her memorial service. And I said, yeah, I was aware of that when I did it, but I did it anyway because it was fun. And, and then I reminded him, well, maybe that's why she turned the lights off in the middle of the service. The lights went dark, we were laughing. We had a good laugh. So after I get up and I go visit my brother, I visit my brother weekly. And, this morning he didn't look good, he has, what's it called, Parkinson's disease, and he can't walk. He's, contained to a wheelchair or in bed. He's at everybody's mercy to get him up and out of bed and everything. And he's not a particularly spiritual person. He's definitely not spiritual. He's kind of, he steps to the beat of a different drummer, But this morning he looked at me and he said, do you remember that day Mommy was smoking the cigar? I couldn't believe it. I was like, yes. As a matter of fact, John and I were talking about that this morning. And I brought the picture up. I said, here it is. Here's a picture of that day. And I said, what are the odds? That's so bizarre that you would think of it today, And he looked at me and he said, yeah, it's kind of spiritual, isn't it? Well, I almost fell on the floor when he said that because, Manny, I never knew to have a spiritual bone in his body. But the way he looked at me, he says, yeah, it's kind of spiritual, isn't it? And I just thought I'd put this out there for my descendants who see this. If you want to know a story about Manny, that was uncanny. So we both took it, Manny and I, and my husband took it to be, wow, it's too uncanny to believe that there isn't something to it, which is now it's prompting me to use a pretty pink deck, feminine energy. Mom is coming through. Eh? Now, I'm not going to, do a question about my mother or anything like that, but I that's why I picked this deck. I was inspired by the beautiful experience that we all think was a spiritual thing. Oh, I know what I can ask regarding my mother with everything that's going on. And my readings have been kind of crazy. You have to admit that. Some of the readings, I can't believe what I've been interpreting. I just don't understand it. So it could be that the universe is saying, it's not your information to know. I'm going to screw with you. Or you ask too many questions and this is what you're going to get. Or if it's really insight that is coming through, that just I'm scratching my head, So if there is a spiritual world, and if my mother indeed, we did have a spiritual moment with my mother where she was letting us know her presence was there and thinking of us, or is here and is thinking of us. And maybe that's who hit the balloon the other day. It could be my mom just visiting. Who knows? I'd like to know what she would make of this political arena, this political thing that's unfolding before our eyes. I've been told, Sebastian, thank you for the update, told me that at 2 o'clock New York time, you know who is going to make it a television appearance. So I don't know if he's stepping down. I don't know what the nature of the appearance will be, but it's some type of an announcement. He could be, who knows? Who knows? I guess I'll tune in for that. But I'd like to know, my mother has any advanced foreknowledge of what that 2 o'clock announcement will be. I wonder. I don't know if when people pass over, if they know things. I don't know. We'll find out. I guess we'll find out if she'll know things or not, because I'll know from the nature of the read. But Mom, if you're floating around and it is a spiritual thing and you have let us know that you're thinking of us, especially during this period of time where it's scary as hell. And sorry about the curse. What's Mom's advice? Or what's Mom's insight into what happens next? What's Mom's insight into what happens next? So I guess I am doing a reading on my mom after all. Alrighty. What happens next, Mom? The Empress. Well, she shows up in every freaking read that's political in the past several weeks. It's crazy. Okay, the Empress and the King of Coins. Wow. Didn't they show up in a reading I did the other day? I know I'm showing my videos out of sequence. I did it yesterday. A video with, what deck was I using? I don't remember what deck I was using. Wasn't this one, though. And the King of Pentacles and the Empress. The King of Pentacles began the spread, began the spread, and the Empress ended that row, which is uncanny. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune. Same freaking cards. Same cards, different deck. How is that for confirmation? Holy Toledo. Wow. Now here we don't know which way the wheel's turning. It's getting brighter on this side and it's getting darker on this side. So perhaps the wheel is turning this way. And if we look at the little flames are going in the opposite. I wonder, I don't know if I don't know which way this wheel is turning. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just in general, a change, a shift. Holy cow. This is so interesting. So we have fresh blood, in the context of the question of what's going on. New energy, it's a page, it's not the ace, but it's youth, young. Son, I can't believe, you know what? This is nuts. This is crazy. They're the same cards. They're not in the exact same order, but they're the same freaking cards. This is too much. This is too much. Three of Cups. So we have a repeat of the Empress, the energy of 3, fertility, growth. Wow. The Star was in the center. I've done a couple reads regarding what's happening next, and then the woman that keeps appearing. We have 2 swords. 3 of Wands. Okay, so not all the cards are the same, but I'll tell you what, I think these are. Dang. And 4 Cups. So let me add up, get the quints. I'll be right back. Okay, so we had the Pope. We did not have the Death card, but we also had the Star. The Star was in the front and center card of the core 9, and the Sun is a star, and it's there now, but we also have it as the final outcome card. So it's a few days later, and, stuff is getting played out, so it's entirely possible that this that was in the center is now here, and this is here. So, and I just can't get over that we have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards plus a page. I think it was the same page. So that's kind of crazy, right? So I take it as confirmation that the reading was on the up and up. We may not see it play out, although I can't see how we won't with all these cards of enlightenment. The one card that we did not have is the Death card, which is interesting. Shows a change of luck. We don't know which way this wheel is going. There was a generic sense of a change of luck. We have the female Empress. Well, the Empress. I don't know why I call her the female Empress. So we have the Empress energy beginning the row of the King, whose wheel is turning in the direction of that. Or either same case scenario, because Death is turning in that direction of him. Either way, it seems as though the Empress is on top. So not that the Empress will be second in command, but the Empress will be the mouthpiece. The Empress the Empress we keep seeing may be the one who calls the shots, even if we're not aware of it. This is so strange. But it does seem as though there will be enlightenment. We have the World card, we have the Sun, we have the Star. And then we have, in the context of the question, authority. I dare not be optimistic. Initially it seems like if something like this were to be played out, we'd have a brief period, I think, of jubilee. So I've only been showing I've only been looking at like the next week or two, because I have a feeling that the next week or two are going to be kind of big, or at the long case scenario, the end of September, maybe, right? But then after that, after a sense of yay, then what, So this wasn't so much to tell me that what's going on, so much as it was as a confirmation of, yep. The same cards came out, so it's kind of like confirmation that read, I think I did it with the Matra Nua, I think it was the Matra Nua. that interpretation was the intended interpretation. I mean, I'm seeing it again, more or less, with the same cards. I'm not going to, I just wanted it for validation. That's all. I just wanted it for validation. I think it's been validated. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. What do you make of this? What do you guys make of that? So bear in mind, this is 1 o'clock on Tuesday, I guess September 2nd. And he has not shown his face, but if there's going to be an announcement, I guess it's going to be within the hour. So this will be aired, a day or two later. So it'll be old news. I do want to know, since it seems as though I'm on the right track, I guess I just want confirmation if the United States will be okay, and by extension, the rest of the world. But his mess starts here, and it extends outward. So initially, I just think, will we be okay? Or will we get ourselves on the right track? And then by extension, the rest of the world. The rest of the world, it's contagious. A cancer like him is contagious, Will we be okay? All right. I already did all that stuff off camera, but just do one or two more. I just feel the need. Clear the deck, which I have, but and just to show how nice it shuffles. Plus, I just love to shuffle. Okay, here we go. Will we be okay? The Magician. King of Swords. New direction. New leader. Restoration of chaos, right? 8 of Swords. I see this as law, 8 in a cycle. And we saw that with the Udas Picard. I wonder if this subscribes to the Udas Picard. We saw this same pattern in the Udas Picard that I recently showcased. Interesting. And I commented how, I think of 8 like justice, which ironically is not 8 in this deck, but 8 is a restoration of order, right? So I see this as a return to order. Three batons, which is not the same as the Udas Picard, but this one is, interestingly, I think, similar. Front and center of the core 8, core 9 is another 8, 8 of Wands. Wow. So this could be social order, this could be legal order, or I find it so hard to believe. I mean, it would have to be utopia. Oh my gosh. It would, dang, okay. So we have 3 cycles, right? We have 3 circles. 6 of Cups, 6 is a perfect number. Stability of the heart. Temperance, cleansing. What? I guess we're going to be fine. I can't believe it. 7 of Cups, moving forward, transition. This is nuts. This is crazy. All right, let me do the calculator thing with Pinky. So we have the Hermit here. Let me go off. I'll be right back. Okay, so bear in mind that the question was, are we going to be okay, and by extension, the rest of the world? And I didn't really ask. I just wanted confirmation that we're going to be okay. And all I see are restorative cards, You see the world in the hands. The world in good hands, perhaps. We have wisdom of the Hermit. We have, virility or fortitude, hopefully moral fortitude, because we do have the Sun. We'd have the world. We do have government, so where it could be, in the context of the question, it could be referencing government. It could be referencing the Pope. But I think in the context of the question, well, the Pope is American, is by birth American. And maybe he has something to do with something. Maybe he has some influence, perhaps. I don't know. But I see this more as like structure, adherence to dogma, which could be seen as adherence to dogma of what our country's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be a democracy. And then I see cleansing. I see, transition. I see stability of the heart and transition moving forward. I see cards that suggest lack of chaos. And then we have the sun. What else do we have? We just have cards that lead me to believe that it will be okay. The Magician does suggest deception. It does start out that way. So maybe things look good, but maybe they won't be. That's a distinct possibility. However, with this card in this deck, I don't think this deck subscribes to the magician being a con or a trick, I think the magician in this deck and the philosophy of this deck is manifesting what you want. I don't think I can superimpose upon this, there are some cards I can, because their origin stories are the same, but they do deviate with the magician, they deviate here because the magician has powers to manifest. And then we have the world as the final outcome card. So manifestation begins with manifesting and then ending with the world being in good hands. So the ultimate manifestation card is right here. So, wow. Well, we should be hopeful, I suppose. I suppose we should hold on to hope. If we despair and we lose, then we give in and we give up. And that's the worst thing we could do. So I guess we have to find out what we're made of. And, maybe it's not so much of everything will just come to pass beautifully, but that we will have the stamina and the fortitude, the moral fortitude to get ourselves back on track. And it won't necessarily be without effort, because perhaps the message is that we have to manifest. We have to manifest what we want. We have to manifest order, social order and, legal order. We have to, look at this card for the Hermit with wisdom. Right? Like my brother said, it's a spiritual thing. It was like a spiritual thing, right? Like maybe a reawakening of knowledge, of understanding. So it's maybe not so much that everything will be okay, just relax. It's more like we have to manifest what we want, but we can do it and we can restore, we can detoxify, and we can get back to the structure. I think that's what maybe it's saying. Not so much that we should relax, but just that, and bear in mind that this is a pink and pretty deck. Some of the other if I used another deck with the same cards, the message might be stronger. I might have come to the conclusion that we have to manifest what we want sooner, right? That could have happened with another deck. I could have gotten to the message a little sooner. So I don't think it's so much that we should relax and everything will be okay. I think it's more like things will be okay, but we're in control. See, the cuckoo knows. But we have to manifest it and we have to find out what we're made of, And we got to do what we got to do. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be brave, and be kind.